The Great Hall of Concordat Station was filled with light. Thousands of alien delegates sat in their floating chairs, talking and laughing. The ceiling showed the stars outside, and the walls were made of crystal that sang when touched. It was the most important place in the galaxy. Every 10 years, the leaders of all species came here to talk about peace and trade. Ambassador Kong Yuna stood at the entrance and looked at the room. She was a small woman with gray hair and calm eyes. She had spent 40 years as a diplomat. She had smiled at creatures who hated her. She had bowed to leaders who called her people insects. She had done everything right, followed every rule, asked politely for 300 years of asking. Today was different. Today she carried something heavy in her heart. Not anger. Something colder. She walked to the human section. It was in the back corner, far from the center where important species sat. Her team followed her. They wore simple black clothes, while aliens around them wore gold and silver. High Arbiter Velos floated to the central platform. He was tall and thin, with blue skin and 4 arms. His people, the Valari, had ruled the Concordat for 2,000 years. He looked at the crowd with eyes that showed no warmth. "Welcome to the 30th Decennial Summit," he said. His voice filled the room. "We gathered to discuss peace and progress." Yuna listened to speech after speech. The Kathrani talked about their new weapons. The Dravani shared their research. The Valari announced new trade laws that would make them even richer. Then it was humanity's turn. Yuna walked to the platform. She could feel thousands of eyes on her. Some were curious. Most were bored. A few showed open disgust. "Hi, Arbiter," she said. "Distinguished delegates. Humanity comes before you today with a simple request. We have been members of this Concordat for 300 years. In that time, we have paid our taxes. We have followed your laws. We have worked in your mines and factories. We have died in your wars." She paused. "We ask only for equal standing. One vote, like every other species. Fair taxation. The right to settle worlds of our choosing. Nothing more." The room was quiet for a moment. Then High Arbiter Velos laughed. It was not a kind laugh. It was the laugh of someone who had heard a child say something foolish. "Ambassador Kang," he said, "humanity is young. You have been in space for only 500 years. The Valari have been among the stars for 20,000. You cannot expect to stand as our equals. It would be inappropriate." Laughter spread through the hall. Delegates from a dozen species found this very funny. "Your people are useful," Velos continued. "You work hard. You breed quickly. These are good qualities for a junior species. But leadership? Voting rights? These things must be earned over time. Perhaps in another 1,000 years we can discuss this again." Or laughter. Yuna stood very still. Her face showed nothing. In the back of the hall, a Dravani scholar named Omith watched her carefully. He was old, even by his species standards. He had studied many civilizations. Something about the human woman's stillness worried him. "Hi, Arbiter," Yuna said. Her voice was soft but clear. "I understand. You believe we are weak. You believe we are young and foolish. You believe we have no choice but to accept whatever scraps you throw to us." Velos smiled. "I would not use such harsh words, but yes, that is the reality of your situation." Yuna nodded slowly. "Then I must inform you that Earth formally withdraws from the Galactic Concordat. These peace talks are concluded." The laughter stopped. Velos stared at her. "I'm sorry? Humanity is leaving," Yuna said. "We withdraw all delegates. We close all borders. We end all trade agreements. As of this moment, we are no longer part of your Concordat." "You cannot do this," Velos said. His voice was sharp now. "You have treaties, obligations. You owe us payment for the colonies we allowed you to settle." "Send us a bill," Yuna said. "We will consider it." "This is madness," a Kathrani commander called out. "Where will you go? You have no allies. No other options. You will starve within a year." Yuna turned to look at him. She smiled, and it was not a kind smile. You mistake our patience for weakness, she said. For 300 years we asked nicely. We followed your rules. We hoped you would see us as equals. But you never did. You never will. She looked around the room. You think we are weak because we wanted peace? You think we are foolish because we didn't fight? But let me tell you something about humans. We don't start wars. We finish them. She walked toward the exit. Her entire delegation stood and followed her. Wait, Bellows called out. There was something new in his voice. Not quite fear, but close to it. Let us discuss this. Perhaps we were hasty. Perhaps some arrangement can be made. Eunice stopped at the door. She looked back at the High Arbiter. You had 300 years to make arrangements. You chose to laugh instead. Now you will see what happens when humanity stops asking permission. She left. Within 1 hour, every human in Concordat space began moving toward the borders. Ships, stations, workers, families. All of them heading home. Within 1 day. All communication with human space went dark. Within 1 week, the border stations fell silent. The Concordat told itself this was nothing. Humans would come back. They had no choice. In his private study, Scholar Ometh pulled up old files from Earth's history. He read about their wars. Not the ones they fought in space, but the ones they fought against each other. Millions dead. Cities burned. Weapons that could destroy entire nations. And yet they survived. They always survived. He read about something called World War II, about a nation that had been peaceful and quiet till it was attacked, about how that sleeping nation woke up and became a force that helped reshape the world. Ometh's hands trembled as he closed the files. He sent a message to the High Arbiter, a warning, a plea to reconsider. The High Arbiter did not respond. In the darkness of space, humanity waited and prepared. 3 months passed in silence. Trade. Master Nolith sat in his office on Valari Prime and stared at the numbers on his screen. They were bad numbers. Very bad numbers. His hands, all 4 of them, were shaking. 60% of the galaxy's processed fuel came from human refineries. Nobody had thought about this before because humans were quiet and obedient and always delivered on time. Now the fuel was gone. Ships were sitting in ports with empty tanks. Factories were closing. The Valari economy, the greatest economy in the galaxy, was starting to crack. Where are they getting their food? Nolith asked his assistant. They cannot grow enough on their colony worlds. They should be starving by now. I don't know, Trade Master. No ships have left human space. No signals, nothing. That's impossible. Billions of people cannot just disappear. But they had. On Kethrin, the military council met in emergency session. Commander Rin stood before the council and listened to their arguments. The Kethrani were warriors. They had conquered dozens of species before joining the Concordat. The idea that humans, soft little humans, could simply walk away made their blood boil. We must teach them a lesson, the war chief said. Send a fleet. Burn a few of their colonies. They will come crawling back. Rin was not so sure. She had fought humans before, in small border conflicts. They were strange creatures. They didn't give up, even when they should, even when they were clearly beaten. But orders were orders. She took 200 warships to the human border. The finest ships in the Kethrani fleet, with the best crews. More than enough to crush any resistance. They arrived at the border station called Gateway 7. It was supposed to be humanity's largest outpost in this sector. It was gone, not destroyed. Just gone. The station had been taken apart and moved somewhere else. Only empty space remained. Scan for life signs, Rin ordered. Nothing, Commander. The entire sector is empty. Rin felt cold. Moving a station that size would take years. The humans had done it in 3 months. How? She ordered her fleet deeper into human territory. They passed colony worlds that should have held millions of people. Empty. Cities with lights still on, but no one inside. Farms with crops ready to harvest, but no farmers. It was like the humans had simply vanished. "Commander," her sensor officer said, "our scout ships are not responding." "How many?" "All of them, Commander." 12 ships? They went ahead to scan the next system. "They're just gone." Rin's jaw tightened. Battle formation. All ships. Her fleet formed a defensive sphere, weapons ready. They waited. Minutes passed. Nothing happened. Then a single transmission came through. A human face appeared on screen. A young man with sharp eyes and a calm expression. He wore a simple uniform with no medals or decorations. "I am Captain Bei Minho of the United Earth ship Tempest," he said. "You have entered human space without permission. You were warned. You didn't listen." Rin leaned forward. "Where are your people? What have you done?" "We moved," Minho said simply. 300 years gave us plenty of time to plan. You never watched us closely because you thought we were nothing. Thank you for that. You cannot hide forever. We will find your homeworld. We will burn it. You can try." Minho smiled. It reminded Rin of something she had seen before. A predator, just before it attacked. "Turn back now, Commander. Take your ships and go home. Tell your council that humanity wants peace. We have always wanted peace. But if you continue forward, you will find war." "Ow." Rin was a warrior. Her pride would not let her retreat from a single human. "Your threats are empty," she said. "You have no fleet. You have no weapons. You have nothing." Minho nodded slowly. "As you wish." The transmission ended. Rin ordered her fleet forward. They entered the next system, a place called Silent Reach on the human maps. At first there was nothing. Empty space. Distant stars. A cold red sun. Then the darkness came alive. Ships emerged from behind asteroids. From the shadows of moons. From the empty void itself. Human ships. Thousands of them. They had been hiding with their engines cold, invisible to sensors. Rin counted quickly. 4,000 ships. No, more than that. 5,000. All of them pointing their weapons at her fleet. "Impossible," her weapons officer whispered. "They couldn't have built this many. We would have seen. We would have known." Cordat had never looked. Why would they? Humans were just workers. Just a junior species. The human ships opened fire. It was over in 11 minutes. 200 Cathroni warships destroyed. The finest fleet in their history turned to burning metal and frozen bodies. Rin's flagship was hit last. Her crew died around her as the ship broke apart. She crawled to an escape pod and launched herself into space, surrounded by the wreckage of her fleet. She floated there for hours, watching the human ships clean up the debris. They moved efficiently, without celebration. This was not victory to them. It was just work. A human ship approached her pod. She expected death. Instead, they pulled her aboard. Captain Bei Minho met her in person. He was shorter than she expected. All humans were small, but his eyes held no fear. "Why?" Rin asked. "Why did you spare me?" "Someone needs to deliver the message," Minho said. "Go home, Commander. Tell your people what you saw. Tell them we don't want war. We never wanted war. But if they come for us again, we will not show mercy twice." They gave her a small ship and sent her back to Kethrani space. When she arrived home, she went straight to the military council. She stood before the same leaders who had sent her to teach humans a lesson. "Well?" the war chief demanded. "Did you crush them?" Rin looked at him with empty eyes. She had not slept in days. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw her fleet dying. "They were never weak," she said. "They were waiting. For 300 years they smiled and bowed and said yes, sir, and no, sir. And the whole time, they were building, preparing, watching us. How many ships did they have? Enough to destroy us all. The council fell silent. "What do we do?" someone asked. Rin sat down heavily. She suddenly felt very old. "Pray," she said. "Pray that they really do want peace. Because if they want war, there is nothing we can do to stop them." Across the galaxy, the message spread. Humanity was not a junior species anymore. Humanity was awake, and they were angry. Admiral Park Do-yeon stood on the bridge of his flagship and watched the stars. He was 63 years old. His hair was white, and his face was lined with age. He had spent his entire life preparing for this moment. Behind him, his officers worked quietly at their stations. They were calm. They had trained for years in secret, in hidden bases that the Concordat never knew existed. "Admiral," his communications officer said, "all fleets report ready. Operation Starfall can begin on your command." Do-yeon nodded. He thought about his grandfather, who had told him stories about old Korea, about wars fought with swords and arrows, about patience and strategy, about waiting for the right moment to strike. 300 years of patience. 300 years of being laughed at, pushed around, treated like nothing. All of it leading to this moment. "Begin," he said. Across human space, the hidden fleets moved. They had been built in asteroid bases, in the hearts of gas giants, in places no alien would think to look. For 3 centuries, every human mining outpost had also been a secret shipyard. Every cargo freighter had hidden weapons behind false walls. Every scientist who was called adequate had actually been developing technology far beyond anything the Concordat had seen. The galaxy was about to learn the truth. General So Tai-ho led the ground assault. His target was a Volari colony called Bright Harbor, where thousands of humans worked as slaves in everything but name. They mined precious metals for 16 hours a day. They lived in tiny rooms. Their children grew up without seeing the sun. Tai-ho's transports dropped from the sky like falling stars. His soldiers hit the ground running. They moved through the colony with terrible efficiency, taking out Volari security forces before they could even raise an alarm. The human workers watched in shock as soldiers in black armor appeared from nowhere. "Who are you?" an old woman asked. Tai-ho removed his helmet. His face was hard, but his eyes were kind. "We're from Earth," he said. "We've come to take you home." "What?" The old woman started crying. She had been born on this colony. She had never seen Earth, but she had heard stories from her grandmother about blue skies and green fields and a place where humans were free. "It's real?" she whispered. "Earth is real." "It's real," Tai-ho said, "and it's waiting for you." Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out. Human strike teams appeared on dozens of worlds, liberating workers who had given up hope. They didn't conquer. They didn't occupy. They simply took their people and disappeared. Captain Bae Minho led the naval campaign. His job was simple but vital. He had to cut the Concordat's supply lines and prevent them from organizing a response. His fleet appeared in the Volari, trade lanes like ghosts. They destroyed cargo ships carrying weapons. They blocked routes between major worlds. They vanished before enemy fleets could respond. The Concordat was bleeding. They couldn't stop it. High Arbiter Velos called an emergency meeting of all species. He stood before the delegates with fury in his eyes. "This is an act of war," he shouted. "Humanity has attacked us without cause. We must unite and crush them." Commander Rin, still recovering from her defeat at Silent Reach, spoke up. "High Arbiter, I advise caution. We do not know the full extent of human capabilities. We should negotiate." "Negotiate." Velos laughed bitterly. "With animals? Never." Scholar Ometh of the Dravani stood slowly. He was the oldest being in the room. His people respected wisdom above all else. "High Arbiter," he said, "I have studied human history. They are not like other species. When they fight, they do not stop until they win or die. There is no middle ground. I suggest we consider why they are fighting. They're fighting because they are savage and ungrateful." "Are they?" Ometh asked. "Or are they fighting because we gave them no other choice?" Velos glared at him. "The Dravani will support our war effort." That is not a request. Ometh shook his head slowly. The Dravani will remain neutral. We will not join a war we cannot win. The hall exploded into argument. Some species supported Velos, others quietly began to wonder if the Dravani were right. While the politicians argued, Lieutenant Choi Hannah worked in the shadows. She was small and quiet, the kind of person nobody noticed. That made her perfect for intelligence work. She had spent years building a network of informants throughout the Concordat. Aliens who were unhappy with Valari rule, officials who could be bribed, scientists who felt guilty about what they had helped create. Now her network paid off. One of her contacts sent her a file. It was heavily encrypted, but Hannah was very good at her job. She broke the code in 3 days. What she found made her blood run cold. It was a plan called Operation Quiet Night, a Valari plan approved by High Arbiter Velos himself. The plan was simple. In 10 years, when humanity's population reached a certain number, the Concordat would introduce a virus into human food supplies. The virus would make humans unable to have children. Within 3 generations, humanity would die out completely. They were planning to kill every human in the galaxy, slowly and quietly. Hannah brought the file to Admiral Park Do-yoon. His face showed no emotion as he read it, but his hands gripped the table so hard that his knuckles turned white. They were going to kill us all, he said quietly. Yes, Admiral. They smiled at us. They took our taxes. They worked us in their mines. And the whole time, they were planning our extinction. Yes. Admiral. Do-yoon was silent for a long moment. Then he looked up. Broadcast this to every species in the galaxy, every world, every station. Let them all see what the Valari planned. The broadcast went out. The galaxy watched in horror as the truth was revealed. The Valari had not just been cruel. They had been planning genocide. Several minor species immediately withdrew from the Concordat. They sent secret messages to Earth, asking if there was room for them in whatever new order humanity was building. Ambassador. Kong Yuna received each message personally. Her response was the same every time. There is room for everyone who believes in equality. There is room for everyone who rejects cruelty. Come, join us. Help us build something better. No? The war had truly begun. But it was no longer humanity against the galaxy. It was tyranny against freedom, and freedom was winning. High Arbiter Velos stood before the window of his palace and watched his world burn. Not with fire, but with shame. The broadcast had destroyed everything. Species that had obeyed the Valari for thousands of years were now questioning. Some were leaving. Some were openly rebelling. He had one chance left. One final move. We will attack Earth directly, he told his war council. Gather every ship we have, every ally who remains loyal. We will burn their home world to ash. Without Earth, the humans will fall apart. His admirals looked uncertain. High Arbiter, we do not know Earth's defenses. After what happened at Silent Reach, silence. Velos slammed his fist on the table. We are the Valari. We have ruled this galaxy for 20,000 years. We will not be defeated by insects who learned to fly ships only yesterday. He gathered his fleet. 10,000 warships from every species still loyal to the Concordat. It was the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. Surely, nothing could stand against it. Admiral Park Do-yoon received the intelligence report with a small smile.
Ah, they're coming,
Captain Bae Minho said. Everything they have. Straight for Earth, Good Do-yoon said. Let them come. Admiral, 10,000 ships. Even with our hidden fleets, we have only 8,000. Numbers are not everything, Captain. Tell me, what do those aliens know about Earth? Minho thought about it. Very little, Admiral. They never cared enough to study us. They gave us the worst colony worlds because they didn't want us near their systems. Exactly. They are coming to a place they have never been, to fight an enemy they have never understood. That is not an advantage. That is a death sentence. The Concordat fleet arrived in the Sol system 2 weeks later. They dropped out of faster-than-light travel near the outer planets, expecting to find a desperate, weakened defense. What they found was something else entirely. Earth was surrounded by a ring of metal. Thousands of orbital platforms, each one covered with weapons. Automated defense systems that operated without crews. Missile batteries that could track and destroy ships from millions of kilometers away and behind the gas giants. Hiding in the shadows of Jupiter and Saturn, the human fleet waited. 8,000 ships, yes. But these were not the outdated vessels the Concordat expected. These were warships built with technology the galaxy had never seen. Engines that moved faster. Shields that held longer. Weapons that hit harder. 300 years of secret development. 300 years of watching alien technology and improving it. 300 years of preparing for exactly this moment. All ships hold position, Velos commanded. His confidence was shaking, but he refused to show it. Begin the attack. Target their defense platforms. The Concordat fleet moved forward, their weapons fired. Platforms exploded. But for every platform destroyed, 3 more ships were lost to the automated defenses. The platforms were not just weapons. They were traps. They released clouds of tiny mines. They fired electromagnetic pulses that disabled ship systems. They broadcast false signals that confused sensors. "This is impossible," the Valari admiral said. "How did they build all of this?" "You never watched them," General Seo Taiho said. "He was broadcasting on an open channel. You made them work in your factories. You made them build your ships. You never thought to wonder if they were learning, if they were improving, if they were planning." Then the human fleet emerged. From behind the gas giants, and Ambassador Kang Yuna's voice filled every speaker. On every ship in the Concordat fleet, soldiers. "Of the Concordat," she said. Her voice was calm and sad. "Your leaders have brought you here to die, but we do not want your deaths. We have intercepted your letters home. We have read them. We know you have families, children, lives you want to return to." On Concordat ships, soldiers looked at each other. They had been told humans were monsters. This woman sounded like a mother. "This war was not started by you," Yuna continued. "It was started by leaders who saw us as insects to be crushed. By Arbiter Velos, who planned to kill every human man, woman, and child. You saw the proof. You know what kind of being you serve?" Silence across the fleet. "We offer you a choice. Surrender now, and you will live. You will be treated with honor. You will be returned to your families. Or fight and die for a leader who would have murdered billions." For a long moment, nothing happened. Then a Kathrani captain powered down his weapons. Then another. Then a Dravani ship broke formation and flew toward the human lines. Then 10 more. Then 130% of the Concordat fleet mutinied in a single hour. Crews refused to fire on a species that offered them mercy when their own leaders offered only death. "No," Velos screamed. "Cowards. Traitors. All of you." But his voice was lost in the chaos. The battle of Soul began. It was not a battle. It was a slaughter. The remaining Concordat ships fought bravely, but they were outmatched in every way. Human ships moved with perfect coordination. Human weapons found their targets with terrifying accuracy. Human commanders made decisions faster than alien minds could process. Within 4 hours, the greatest fleet in galactic history was reduced to scattered survivors fleeing in every direction. Velos tried to run. His flagship turned away from the battle, trying to escape to faster-than-light speed. He almost made it. A human ship appeared directly in his path. The UES Tempest, Captain Bei Minho, commanding. "Going somewhere high, Arbiter?" Minho asked.
"Oh."
There was no pride in his voice now, only fear. "I will give you anything, Worlds. Wealth, power, name your price." "Our price is justice," Minho said. "You plan to murder our entire species. You will answer for that crime? Not to us. To the galaxy?" General Seo Taiho led the boarding party personally. His soldiers cut through the flagship's defenses and found Velos hiding in his private chambers, the High Arbiter of the Galactic Concordat. Ruler of 1,000 worlds, was on his knees, begging for mercy. Taiho looked at him with disgust. For 300 years we asked you for mercy, he said. You laughed at us. Now you want what you refused to give. How does it feel? Velos had no answer. They took him alive. Humanity wanted a trial, not a martyr. Let the galaxy see what kind of creature had ruled them for so long. The Valari Trade Council surrendered the next day. The Concordat was dissolved. For the first time in 20,000 years, the galaxy had no ruler in humanity. The junior species, the insects, the forgettable ones. Had one Admiral Park Doyon stood on his bridge and looked at Earth through the view screen? Blue and green and beautiful. Home. It's over, Minho said quietly. No, Doyon replied. This part is over. Now comes the harder work. Building something new, something better, something that lasts. He turned to his crew. Take us home. We have earned some rest. The human fleet sailed toward Earth, carrying the hope of a galaxy on their shoulders. 1 year had passed since the Battle of Sol. The galaxy was different now. The old order was gone, swept away like leaves in a storm. In its place, something new was growing. Ambassador Kong Yunei stood at the window of her office on Earth and watched the ships coming down from orbit. Ships from dozens of species, all of them coming to attend the founding ceremony of the Galactic Commonwealth. Her assistant knocked on the door. Ambassador, the delegates are arriving. We'll be there soon, Yuna said. Just give me a moment. She thought about everything that had happened. The years of humiliation. The day she walked out of the peace talks. The war, the victory. And now this. A chance to build something that had never existed before. A galaxy based on equality. She straightened her dress and walked to the Great Hall. The ceremony was held in a massive building constructed for this purpose. It was built on neutral ground, on a moon that belonged to no species. Delegates from every world that accepted the new charter had come. Humans, of course. But also Dravani, Kathrani, and dozens of others. Even some Valari were present, those who had rejected their old government's crimes. Yuna took the central platform. Thousands of faces looked up at her. Some were hopeful. Some were uncertain. All of them were waiting. Friends, she began. We gather today not to celebrate victory. We gather to make a promise. A promise that what happened before will never happen again. She paused. The old Concordat was built on lies. It told us that some species were better than others, that power gave the right to rule, that cruelty was the price of order. We rejected those lies. We fought against them. And we won. Applause rippled through the hall. Yuna held up her hand for silence. But winning a war is easy. Building a lasting peace is hard. Today, we begin that work. The Galactic Commonwealth will be different. Here, every species has one vote. No more, no less. Here, taxation will be fair. Here, no one will be called a junior species. Here, no one will be a slave. She looked around the room. This will not be perfect. We will make mistakes. We will argue. We will disagree. But we will do it as equals. As partners. As friends. That is my promise to you. That is humanity's promise to the galaxy. The applause this time was long and loud, far from the ceremony. Admiral Park Do-yan walked through a small village in Korea. The mountains rose around him, green and peaceful. Birds sang in the trees. A stream ran through the valley, clear and cold. He had come home. His uniform was packed away. His medals were in a box somewhere. He wore simple clothes now. A farmer's clothes. A young woman from a news network found him working in his garden. She had traveled far to interview the great admiral. Sir, she said, how does it feel to have led the greatest military victory in human history? Do-yan did not look up from his plants. It feels like something I hope my grandchildren never have to repeat. Don't you want to stay in command? Lead the new Commonwealth fleet? I've had enough of war, he said. I did what I had to do. Now let someone younger worry about the future. I want to grow vegetables and watch the sunset. The reporter didn't understand. How could someone who had held such power just walk away from it. But that was the human way. They didn't fight for power. They fought for the right to live in peace. Once they had that, they put down their weapons and went home. Captain Bei Minho did not retire. He became the commander of the Commonwealth Defense Fleet. His ships now patrolled the space lanes, keeping peace between species that had fought each other for thousands of years. His first act was to open the fleet to all species. Kathrani warriors served alongside human engineers. Dravani scientists worked with Valari navigators. The fleet became a symbol of what the Commonwealth could be. We were enemies once, Minho told his officers. Now we are something else. Let's show the galaxy what that looks like. Lieutenant Choi Hanna became the first human ambassador to the Dravani. Their early neutrality had saved millions of lives. Humanity did not forget. She lived on the Dravani homeworld now, in a house near their great library. Scholar Omith visited her often. They would talk for hours about history, philosophy, and the strange paths that brought their species together. You know, Omith said one evening, I warned them. When your ambassador walked out of those talks, I told the arbiter that humanity was dangerous. He didn't listen. Would you have listened? Hannah asked. Thought about it. Probably not. We were all blind in our own way. It took a war to open our eyes. Let's hope we stay awake this time. General Seo Taiho spent his days on the colony worlds, not conquering them, but healing them. The places where humans had worked as slaves needed help. Schools, hospitals, homes, all the things that had been denied to them. For centuries, he walked through the streets of Bright Harbor, the first world he had liberated. Children played in the open now. Families sat in parks. The mines were closed. The factories converted to better purposes. An old woman approached him. The same woman he had met on that first day. General, she said, I want to thank you for everything. Taiho smiled. Don't thank me. Thank yourself. You survived. You endured. That takes more courage than anything I did. The woman shook her head. You came for us. When we had given up hope, you came. We will never forget. On the anniversary of the war's end, Scholar Ometh published his history of the conflict. It became the most read book in the galaxy. Species that had never thought about humans now studied them with fascination and respect. His conclusion was quoted. Everywhere we believed humanity was weak because they sought peace for 3 centuries. We did not understand. Their patience was not submission. It was preparation. They did not want war. But when war became the only path to survival, they waged it with a skill and ferocity that we could never have imagined. Let future generations remember this lesson. Humanity does not start fights, but they finish them. The book ended with a warning. The humans have shown us mercy. They could have destroyed us. They could have ruled us as we ruled them. Instead, they offered us partnership. We should not waste this gift. If we return to our old ways, if we try to oppress and dominate again, we will find that humanity's patience has limits. And none of us want to discover what lies beyond those limits. The founding ceremony concluded with Ambassador Kang Yuna's final words. She stood before the assembly, small and gray-haired and utterly unafraid. We were told we didn't belong, she said. That we were too young, too weak to human. We proved them wrong, not with cruelty, but with conviction. This Commonwealth will not repeat the sins of the Concordat. Here, every voice matters. Every species is equal. No one will be forgotten. No one will be left behind. She looked around the room at all the different faces, all the different species, all united in this moment. And if anyone ever tries to tell another species that they don't belong, that they don't matter, that they are less than equal, she smiled. The same smile she had worn when she walked out of the peace talks 1 year ago. Humanity will have something to say about that. The hall erupted in cheers. Humans and aliens alike standing together, looking toward a future that held more hope than fear. Outside, the stars waited, billions of them, full of worlds and wonders that no one had yet discovered. The galaxy was vast and old and full of secrets. But now, for the first time, it was also free. And somewhere in a garden in Korea, an old admiral looked up at those stars and smiled. The war was over. The peace had begun, and humanity, as always, would endure.